Thanks for inviting us down. For those who don't know me, I've been keeping birds since I was 6 years old. Budgies, canaries, you name it, I've had it. Toucans, macaws, cockatoos, I've kept them and bred them over the years. The only thing I haven't really had is hummingbirds. I had the chance to get some at one point, but I just wasn't in the position to look after them properly, so refused them. But I've been agriculture college 3 years studying poultry. I've been 26 years in the poultry industry, UK and in Canada, done various positions in that, managing various poultry farms and whatnot, and sales and different things. I've been doing homeopathy and natural products for 20 years. Now, my focus on everything I do is one word. If you take this one word away, it applies to yourself as well as animals and birds: stress. 99% of the problems we have with animals and birds is stress. And my focus on everything is, it says, stress on health, nutrition, and the environment. These are the three main areas. If you can take stress off your birds in these main areas, they should perform well, they should breed well, you should have no issues at all. So basically, I'm going to start off with the environment. We play God to these birds. They stand or fall by what we do to them. And you look at birds in the wild, they get a brand new environment every 5 minutes. When the wind blows, when it rains, when they fly to another perch, it's a new environment for them. We control the environment our birds are in. So it's important that we make sure that there's no stress in the birds by the environment we are creating for them. So one of the main products I do is Clean and Clear Checkmate. Virucidal, bactericidal, fungicidal disinfectant is food safe. Now, some of you know me from a way back with Virkin S. Virkin S is a fantastic product, it does the job, but for me it was too corrosive. When you get people phoning and saying, this is great stuff, it's taking the chrome off my sink, it's like, ouch, Or, a friend of mine from up north in Aberdeenshire phoned up and says, Colin, I burnt the piglet's feet because I forgot to hose down before putting them in, and I sort of took a wee step back from it. Super product, but when you've got something that's food safe and biodegradable, and they say there's 3 different ways people are using it. If you had a mite infestation, 100 mils per litre, spray it on, wipe it on, you'll see mites and eggs going dark green on contact. Breaks the cycle. If you miss a bit, they will come back. For cleaning, fantastic. It's great for lazy people. 20 mils per litre, spray it on, wipe it on a surface, leave it 20 minutes. I always say go away and get a cup of tea, let it do the job. What it does is it takes positive ions off dirt and grease and turns them negative. So they just lift. So there's no scrubbing. I've had people phone me up and say, is this acid? Because I spilt it on my stool that has a grid on it, and where it's been spilt on, it's all come away and it's like brand new. Whereas not, it's still stuck to it, So again, fantastic. Again, at 20 mils per litre, you're killing mites as well. Not as effective as 100 mils, but 20 mils will still kill mites and eggs. So as you're cleaning, you're doing it almost like a preventative. The other area as well that's a big issue is, especially budgies, is dust. 10 mils per litre, mist spray. Doesn't matter if it hits the birds to feed the water, it's bringing the dust down, it's bringing the virus and bacteria levels down as well. So you're getting a brand new environment. I've got people that, are still keeping birds today because they use this every day as a mist spray. It's just giving you a brand new environment. And they say, you can spray water around and it'll bring the dust down, but then you're creating a moist atmosphere for a virus and bacteria to grow. But because you've got that 10 mils per litre on it, the difference is you're killing viruses and bacteria at the same time. So it's a very, very simple product, but it does the job. As I say, a Scotsman putting a money back guarantee on something, it's got to be good. I'm not as stupid as I look, So, that's a simple product for the environment. Again, when it comes to environment, birds have pecking orders, and sometimes we keep too many birds, and that's stress on the birds as well. And birds moving from place to place, it's all about stress. The less stress, the less hassle you have. The next area I'm going to go on to is nutrition. But before I go into nutrition, I'm just going to tell you a little story of what happened to me as an 18-year-old in agriculture college. Sitting in a microbiology lab, the lecturer comes with a basket with a pigeon in it. And he pulls the pigeon out and he says, we're going to find out what bacteria is in this bird's mouth. So he gets a swab, rubs inside the bird's mouth, rubs it on a petri dish with growth medium, puts the lid on it, gets a black marker and writes A. Right? Okay. He says, when we come back next week, we'll find out what bacteria is growing in that. Will be in the incubators. So he continues walking around doing his lecture with this pigeon tucked underneath his arm. And he goes, right, 10 minutes up, we'll find out what bacteria is growing in this bird's mouth. And I'm thinking, you did that 10 minutes ago. Huh? So he gets another swab, swabs inside the bird's mouth, puts it back in the basket, gets another petri dish, puts it on, puts the lid on it and writes B. He says, when we come back next week, we'll look at that and see what bacteria is growing. So we came back to the following class. He gets A out, a little bit blue, a little bit green, textbooks out, before computers, Staphylococcus, Staph aureus, pretty common stuff, okay. He brings B out, World War III, every colour of the rainbow you could think of. Wait a minute, Staphylococcus, Staph aureus, Salmonella, E. coli. There was 12 different things we identified. We thought that bird was relaxed underneath his arm, but the wee bird's terrified, stressed out, and everything multiplied in that bird within 10 minutes. And we saw that evidence, So what multiplies the quickest is usually what kills your bird, and what symptoms you see. So, for example, going light. I'm sure some of you guys have had the issues with birds going light. Going light is coxy, and it's megabac. There's other things multiplying. Coxy is one of these classics. Coxy is usually behind everything. Because the way coxy works is it senses in the bird's body, and the animals as well, it senses the stress and says to itself, this host is under stress, it's going to die. I need to multiply, get eggs out of this host into another host so I can reproduce and keep going. So that's why your birds start to get thinner and thinner and thinner, because the coxy is starting to strip the nutrients out of the food to produce eggs, to get it out, to get it into another host. And that's how coxy works. And because of the stress of coxy, that causes other things to multiply as well. So you might get a little bit scary, you might get enteritis, you might get respiratory issues happening, because under stress these things are all coming out. The good thing is we can switch the immune system on. We do that with homeopathic remedies, and we can do specific things that your birds have issues with. The main area before we go into that with the homeopathic remedies is nutrition. Now, the birds stand or fall by what we do. And what we're doing with budgies is we're producing freaks. We put so much feather on. You look at the wild bird compared to what we've got now. We've got so much feather on the birds. That needs to be maintained. We haven't increased the feather on the exact same as we've increased the size of the stomach. They've still got small stomachs in comparison with the feathers we put on. So you want to make sure you're getting the right nutrition into the birds. There's too many products out there that are fillers. I always say you need whole, fresh, natural. You've got a choice of using something that's been processed or something that's been, whole, fresh. When plants and things grow, they're complete. There's nothing added to them. They're complete with what they are. So when you put something in that's a filler that's been processed, it's not a complete food. Food's got to be three things. It's got to be palatable. If it's not palatable and the birds don't eat it, you're stuffed. It's got to be digestible. The birds have got to be able to digest it. And it's got to be nutritious. If one of these three things are missing, your bird's going to be under stress. And again, with the modern day budgie, I believe that they're under stress all the time because of the lack of moisture. They don't eat enough. They don't drink enough. So that they're always dehydrated and under stress because of the feathers we put on them. They don't realise that we've put all this feather on them, but they still have to maintain that. So when you're looking at diets, plain canary is rubbish. You try sprout plain canary, you're lucky if you get maybe 20% to sprout. But it's not a cheap seed for what it is. I always recommend that people, if you're feeding birds, put them on wheat. If you look at the nutritional value of wheat, it's sitting there. You look at plain canary, it's there. Now, if you soak that wheat for 2 days, what you do is you start the germination process. You soak the plain canary, you're lucky if you get it to sprout. You start the germination process with 2 days of soaking wheat. it changes the composition because you've started the germination process. So the nutrition's up there. But not only that, you've got moisture in that seed as well, which is better for the birds. You're getting more moisture into the birds as they're feeding. So wheat to me is phenomenal. It's got, people say, oh, I use oats and groats. Oats and groats is fine, but it's too starchy for what you're getting. Whereas the wheat, you've got the wheat germ, you've got everything there that is easy digested. Again, if your birds aren't used to it, crush it for the first couple of times, let them get into it, start off with a small amount, and then build up. But again, between that and white millet, that's what I feed my birds. You know, you've got, white millet's a good seed. I'll always look at surface to bulk ratio. All these little small seeds, they sound good, but the amount of husk on that seed compared to what you're getting inside isn't great value. And again, you're buying mixes with all sorts of bits and pieces. You're paying 20% VAT. Why not just buy a straight seed and you're not paying the VAT? You know, and I say, we don't realise, because we've done things for years and other people do them, we just take it as gospel. Oh, we've always done a 50-50 mix. We've always done, you know, this seed and that seed. But you don't realise what effect it's having on the bird and what stress it's putting on the bird nutritionally. You know, there's so many products out there that you could put and add vitamins and minerals and all sorts. When you put something in the water and it stops the birds drinking as much, you're doing the bird a disservice and you're causing it stress because it's not getting the moisture that it needs. And so, to me, water should be fresh. Keep it fresh all the time. You're going to have a better chance of the birds drinking what they need to drink, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm not going for that today because it's got a different colour and it doesn't smell right, doesn't taste right. You know, if you want to add some things like that, put them into the feed, because then they have a choice whether to take it or not. You know, it's there's so many things when you look at what you can give them. Some people, you go into their place and they've got 101 different products, and it's like, when people start off keeping birds, they keep it simple and they have great results. And all of a sudden they speak to somebody and they advise them to do this and try that, and all of a sudden the results go down, you know. I always say to people, would you go to a beggar on the street and ask him for financial advice? You just wouldn't do it, you know. Somebody begging in the street's not going to have a clue about financial advice, so why are you going to ask them? Whereas the sad fact is, there's a lot of people who keep birds and they don't really know how things work properly, and they've done this for years, and they'll use things and they'll advise people, but they've not had great results themselves, but they'll still tell you how to do it, you know. What happened 2 years ago, come next month, I started to ask, I've got the who's who of bird keepers use my stuff, and I started asking people as they were phoning up for their orders, how have you got on the last few years? What do you do? What's your feeding program? What's your lighting program? You know, what products do you use? You know, and what's your results been? There was 15 guys stood at a mile, an absolute mile. 15 years to 8 years, they had phenomenal results. Virtually lost no birds, and their breeding was fantastic. And they were breeding with canaries, budgies, parakeets, you know, pigeons, all sorts, a good variety of birds. They'd virtually lost no birds in all these years, and they were breeding with birds 8, 9, 10 years old, who were good quality birds that were still producing. And birds, you'd be lucky if you get 3 or 4 years out, on average, you know. How many people go into some of these top studs and find a bird that's 4 years old? You don't. You know, they've sold them off 2 or 3 years old because, you know, they don't expect to get anything after that. But when you're feeding birds and you're not giving them the proper nutrition, they're not going to have that longevity, you know. They're not going to be able to survive and maintain themselves if you're feeding them rubbish and they're under stress. You know, people say to me, right, I've got birds that I'm producing youngsters with, what do I feed them? The simple things is wheat, super nutrients. When chicks hatch, it's a survival mode. The birds go into survival mode to feed these birds as quickly as possible to get them out of the nest to survive before predators get them. So what do? They don't feed seed. They feed them protein. They feed them amino acids. So what you find is the birds in the wild, it comes into the time when there's insects. Insects have got phenomenal amino acids in them, you know. And when you talk about protein, I want you to forget the word protein and just think about amino acids. You don't make protein from protein, you make protein from amino acids, essential and non-essential amino acids. So when you're feeding these chicks, if you're feeding them seeds, they're still going to grow. The carbohydrate will be converted into muscle. I always say the biggest bodybuilders in the world are plant-based amino acids. Gorillas, look at the size of gorillas and the muscle on a gorilla. That's all plant-based amino acids. He's not taking chicken and protein shakes, It's all plant-based amino acids. So what we need to look at doing for our birds, especially when they're breeding, is give them the amino acids to do the job. You've got your wheat, and one of the best things out there is egg. You look at the formation of an egg, the yolk has got a germinal disc, and on the germinal disc is where the cells are, and they multiply when it's fertile, spread around the yolk, the blood vessels, it absorbs the yolk, and from a few cells to day old, what you find with every single egg that's laid, the chick is always bigger than the yolk. Regardless of the size of the egg, the chick is always bigger than the yolk. So look at the nutrients in that yolk. It's phenomenal to take it from a few cells to day old. You add the white to that, which is essential and non-essential amino acids. The white isn't involved with the production of the chick. The white is there to hold the yolk in the middle to stop it going to the side so bacteria can get to it, and also for gas exchange. That's the only reason that the white's there. So you add the two together, and that will take it from day old beyond. The nutrition in a boiled egg is phenomenal. These 15 guys didn't buy egg food. What they were looking at was one of them scrambled it, one of them fried it, and the rest of them were boiled eggs. And people say, but you get salmonella. You can go to the highest mountain and swab for salmonella. Seagulls are the worst carriers for salmonella going. I've never heard Sir David Attenborough once say, and this year the seagulls didn't breed because of salmonella. Nonsense. It's how you store eggs. If you leave a raw egg out, it's a great medium for bacteria to grow in. But once you boil it, it's not the same. And if you change it regular every day and move it in, you're not going to have issues with that. But you look at your egg foods, the ingredients egg foods, wheat. It's not wheat, it's bakery byproducts. But the bottom line is it's wheat, but you've got something that people didn't want, and then they've added colouring and added dried egg. You don't put into a dried egg and it comes to life again. You've taken the goodness out of it, and you've taken some of the nutrition out of it because you put it into that form. Whereas if you've got a boiled egg, you've got all the nutrients there that are palatable, nutritious, and easy absorbed. You could have the most nutritious food going. I've heard of people putting dog food in those things. It's 30% protein. But if it's not being digested, you're stuffed. The bird's at a disadvantage. The one product that, somebody asked me today if there was one product I would use, what would it be? Top S. Some of you guys are already using it, because I know you are, and you're still speaking to me, which isn't a bad sign. Top S, it acts like a pre and probiotic. What it is, it's a dead yeast plus a couple of enzymes. And what it does is I like that sprinkle like pepper on your food. That's all it is, just a light dusting on food. And it sets the environment they get up so billions of good bacteria multiply. You're not adding anything into the bird or animals, but you're creating an environment so billions of its own good bacteria multiply, so all the nutrients are stripped out. If you're feeding rubbish food and you put that on, you'll see a difference. Again, Scotsman put the money back guarantee, it's got to be good. Why would you pay for something if it doesn't work? That's why there's a money back guarantee in it, because any animal and bird that touches transforms it. I've got a lot of dogs and cats with health conditions, skin conditions, and they're on silly money a month steroids, and they go on to that, and the difference in less than a month is night and day. So what we're doing is, when you sprinkle that on, it sets the environment they got up so billions of its own good bacteria multiply. Now, a good friend of mine, he's in his 80s now, multi-millionaire, a bit of a recluse. He keeps every type of bird you can think of. Phenomenal setup. He phoned me up about 11 years ago and says, Colin, I've taken every pre and probiotic on the market and sent it across to Switzerland for testing. I says, right, how did mine get on? He said, I had to test yours twice. He says, don't worry, I didn't pay for it, didn't test it twice, but everything that was on the market was active in the gut for 3 to 4 hours with one application. And then it started to try to resort back to its normal flora and fauna, how it would sort of normally be. He says, yours was active in the gut for 7 to 8 hours. It was so far ahead of the rest of them that they wanted to check it twice. So this is why we're seeing with birds and animals, your birds are leaving the nest 3 to 5 days early, far better feathered. They fly through the mold, and you have to ring your birds 2 days early, or else you'll not get rings on them. You know, the amount of times that I put on the bottle, all creatures health check takes no responsibility for unwrung birds due to accelerated growth rate. Every year I still get phone calls from some of the British boys. I couldn't get rings on my birds. You read the label? But I didn't believe it. You know, what can I do? You know, you've advised them, you know. But again, your droppings go whiter in colour, drier, a bit less, and no smell. This year's gone mental with the pigeon boys, but what I like about the pigeon boys is they check their dropping boards every day, and they're looking for perfect droppings. And when you can have perfect droppings over your whole loft, day after day after day, for week after week, month after month, you know you're doing something right. Healthy guts, a healthy environment, you know. And again, when you start adding stuff like apple cider vinegar or different things like that to work, you're stopping the birds from drinking, but you're also upsetting the gut flora and fauna. You know, you want to maintain that the same all the way through. When you start adding stuff in it changes the gut flora and fauna, that bird's under stress. It's not going to digest the same way, and it's going to affect that bird's health. You know, maybe not a couple of days. You know, when you start adding stuff and taking away, adding stuff and taking away. You know, I know people that know the day of the week because of the colour of the water. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. You know, keeping it simple again, keeping it fresh, keeping it natural. But the top S to me is just mind blowing. Every animal and bird that touches, skin, coat, fantastic. Goes to the toilet, far less, no smell, unbelievable. I don't know if I should say this being on video, but I'm going to say it anyway. Two guys, I'm not mentioning any names, protect the innocent. Two guys that last year who heard me talking about this, one of them for 20 odd years had irritable bowel syndrome. And the gas coming from this guy was unbelievable, and the smell. He started taking it within 3 days, totally transformed himself. Couldn't believe it, and he's still on it now. And he told another pigeon friend who had the same thing, he's been on it, and his gut is transformed as well. Absolutely fantastic. But it's all about your gut. Same for humans, you know, we've got a healthy gut with no issues. But the problem we've got as humans, we take alcohol, we take weird and wonderful things that cause issues in our body and our gut that, you know, we're not as healthy as what we think, you know. We all think we're invincible and get away with it, but no, we can't really. But, you know, we've got birds that we control exactly everything they do. And if you get the nutrition right, fresh, whole, natural, not an issue. You know, you've got all the things in these ingredients. Spinach, phenomenal. You know, there's enough vitamin K in one leaf of spinach to do a human half our daily dose of vitamin K. Forget about all the rest of them. What in one leaf is that going to do to a bird with all the nutrients in that? Fantastic. When people see me throwing the spinach into the birds, it's like, you're not going to get scared. No, the birds are used to it, and it's amino acids. It's easy digested, good super nutrients. You know, so you've got to look at what you're feeding. Another one's hemp. Hemp has got fantastic protein in it. The amino acids in hemp are very digestible, super nutrients, and easy absorbed. And what hemp does is, if you're breeding birds, what you want to do is you want to, a week before you want to start pairing up, put little dishes of hemp in. Whether you soak it for a day, 2 days, rinse it, and then give it to them, or give it to them neat. Let the birds take the hemp in. What it does is it switches the bird on to breeding. The bird thinks there's availability of food for my chicks. It increases the body weight a bit, and so it switches them on for breeding. There's three things when you're preparing your birds for breeding. There's three things that switch your birds on for breeding. One's light, intensity of light and day length of light. One's availability of food, and one's the bird's body weight. Now, these 15 guys that I was talking about that had fantastic results, they had put the birds into 4 seasons. They were bringing them in and out of cycle, and they gave them 4 definite seasons. Sometimes the way the weather is just now, the birds are haywire because the seasons aren't as what they used to be. And so this is why we're having birds producing earlier and, you know, abandoning nests and all the rest. It's crazy out there. But in a controlled environment, we can turn the birds on and off. when you look at these things, two of these things that the birds will still turn on for breeding, but you won't get the greatest results. If you've got birds that are overweight, they'll still come in and breed, but it's not as good as a bird that's underweight being brought into weight to be switched on. Each bird's got its own like fighting weight, and all too often we feed the same thing all year round, and the bird isn't challenged at all. It's not that you're depriving it of nutrients, but you're just cutting it back. So it's the same as the birds in the wild. They get cut back a bit and they change their diet. And so when it does come into springtime and the insects are there and the availability of food, they're switched on between the light intensity, the availability of food, and their own body weight saying it's time to breed. So we've got to look at all these things when we're producing birds to make sure that they're in the right condition and bring them in and out of condition. You're putting too much fat in your diet, what's going to happen is the birds are just going to get fat at the back end, and it's stored there, and you're going to have issues with egg binding and birds just not producing or producing the odd egg, But again, we've got to make sure that the birds are in tip-top condition all year round, and the right condition for the time of year. And I say it's not difficult to do when you saw these 15 guys and they're all doing the same things, all feeding fresh food, whole food, natural food. Unbelievable just to see consistent results. I wish I'd asked the question 5 years before because I would have got the same answer, but saved 5 years. So I put a program together called the 4 Seasons, and I've got a wee condensed version I've got here today. But it was Carlisle's sale the last time I was there. Chap has been breeding border canaries. He's now into 5 fancies for a number of years. He says, Colin, I've had some season this year. I says, what happened, Alan? He says, 18 hens, 198 youngsters. I went, what? He says, fantastic. I says, what did you do different? He says, 2 years ago, I got the 4 Seasons program for you. About a month before the breeding season, I read it and I thought, this makes sense. So he started doing it. So instead of all his birds coming in and out different times, all his birds came in. He leaned the birds off, he built them up. He started the light in 15 minutes a day, got them up to 12 hours light. They all came in at the same time. And he said, I never lost a youngster. I was using the remedies. I never lost a youngster. They were having 4s and 5s and they were all getting fed fine. And he says, I couldn't believe it. I said, I wish I'd read it the year before and he'd known it before that. Because what's happening is the results we're taking, we think we're doing well, but they're average to poor results and we're happy with them. I've listened to talks with budgie boys and they're happy if they get three chicks per pair. They're using artificial insemination, and they're using feeders and all the rest. We're going down dead ends. We really are going down dead ends. The birds need to produce themselves and without having to pluck all the feathers to the back end. It's just mental. Why are people not coming into the hobby? If that's what you have to do, it's bad enough for experienced people to start doing these things, but for people new coming into the hobby, who's going to come in if they realise you're going to have to do all these things? There's more and more people out there that don't go to clubs who keep just pet birds and lesser quality birds and exhibition budgies that I'm sure, given the right encouragement, could come in and be part of the club and enjoy it. But you've got to keep it simple, and you've got to get the results. Too many people are going out the birds these days because they're not getting results. But the problem is, it's our fault because we're selecting the birds. When we're selecting birds, we should be looking at number of eggs, fertility, hatchability, livability. Instead, what do? Oh, we get these cock-headed hens, they look great, let's pair them up. If you don't get them before 6 months, the chance of them breeding is nil. You're putting cock traits into a hen. It's not going to do anything for the performance. It produces two eggs. You get 2 youngsters. That's what we're focusing on. Oh, these are great birds. They're looking like the style we want. We're breeding freaks. But it's not going to carry on. You're going down a dead end. You want a hen that's producing 4, 5, 6 eggs. They're all fertile. They're all hatching. That's what you want to focus on. You can still focus on that and get quality and size without focusing on the odd one that's just doing a couple of eggs. That's the difference. To me, a hen's got to be a hen. You look at every type of bird out there. A lot of them, the hens look like hens. Chickens, pigeons, you see a difference. There's a lot of birds you don't. It's only by colour you know the difference. But you want a hen that's going to do the job for breeding. I remember as a 12-year-old sitting in an old guy's hut, and he says, Colin, he says, this is how you pair up. This cock sitting there, beautiful grey cock, nice shape, carrot shape, pulls the chicks out, nice faces on them, look good. Taps the box, hen comes out, nothing. No head on it, beak sticking out, scrawny, tight feathered, He says, but look at the father of this hen. The father was similar to the cock, nice looking bird. That was producing the chicks, night and day. It was producing. It was feeding youngsters. It was doing the job. It wasn't like some of these cock-headed hens that I hear a lot of people. Oh, I sell them as barheads. Yeah, you sell them as barheads because they look great and they'll come on, but they're not going to breed. What's the point of hanging on to something that's not going to breed? That's why a lot of these guys say, "Oh, you can have that bird," Oh, I've got a cracking hen here. Chances of breeding's nil. What I get a lot from as well is I get a lot of phone calls with people. When people are using additives and all these things, what you find is that when they sell birds to people, they crash. When you bring a bird in, it's under stress. But when it's been used to all these weird and wonderful things and additives, the system's set up for that and it's designed for that. And all of a sudden you bring it in and you don't carry that on, the bird's depleted. It's going to go downhill. It's going to crash. And under stress, it will develop. It might go light. It might have scour, But quite often I get phone calls from people who buy from certain people and they're using stuff. And they never get anything. If they don't die, they don't do anything. It's rare they get something done. My advice would be, because of knowing how stress works, you've got two choices. When you bring a bird in, you either isolate it, acclimatise it to your way of doing over a couple of months, and then look to pair it up, or else you buy a bird that's in condition and you pair it up straight away. Because when a bird comes in, if you take a bird from a flight or a cage and put it into a breeding cage, the first thing it sees is a cock or a hen. It's like, oh, it's time to breed. Hello there, and it just gets on with what it needs to do. You drive 500 miles, pick a bird up, bring it back, and put it straight into a cage. It's not got time to think about stress and what's happening, what's around it. Oh, there's a cock, there's a hen. Oh, it's time to breed. And it just gets on with it. That's your best option. If I'm buying a bird in, that's what I do. I see a bird that's in condition, I know what I want to put it to, I bring it in, straight away, bang. Again, when you're pairing birds up, if you don't see a reaction within 2 minutes from a cock or a hen of any sort, split them up. How many times we put birds in, down on paper they're ideal, we'll put them together, 2 weeks later it's nothing's happening. Waste of time. Put them in, if there's not a reaction from one or the other, split them up. 2 minutes, that's all I give them. And it doesn't matter whether you put the cock or hen in first, there's got to be a reaction there, or else you're wasting time. Put a different hen in, put a different cock in, reaction, leave them, let them get on with it. But again, it's all about stress. The next area I'm going to focus on, excuse me a second, is health. I've already told you stress is the 99% of causing problems. And under stress, every bird reacts differently to stress. Some birds not an issue, other birds the slightest bit of stress. How many people have had a cock bird that hasn't filled an egg and you've given it away to somebody else and all of a sudden it's filled eggs with them? Stress. The bird could be stressed out, but even just a little branch blowing in the breeze that it's watching and stressing it out, or another cock bird, or other birds stressing it, and it's not fertile. Take it somewhere else, and the stress is off it, and all of a sudden it's breeding. It's happened vice versa with me. This bird's never produced any. I'll have a wee shot. Does the job. It's all about stress. So again, everything's multiplying and every bird reacts different. So that's why some birds go light very quickly and other birds under the same stress, you don't have issues at all. So with the homeopathic remedies, I've been the poultry specialist for coming up for 20 years with this company that I deal with, excuse me. That vodka's not bad. No, I'll get that after. But what amazes me with the homeopathic remedies is so easy to use. It's not rocket science. When I started with the company, I had 6 remedies for birds. 20 years later, we've now got 47 different remedies. Working with people with different birds and different health issues, we've had samples from birds and got remedies made up. The classic example recently is the pigeon guys. For almost 20 years, I've said to them, give me a bird that died with the symptoms of young bird sickness, and we'll give you a remedy. Well, we don't have young bird sickness. There's thousands and thousands of birds die every year with young bird sickness, but nobody has it. Last year, I got a phone call from a chap, about an hour and a half away from me. Excuse me. And he phoned up and says, Colin, I believe you're looking for a bird with young bird sickness. I said, I've got one that's died. I said, I've got 15 birds that aren't right. I've got 40 that, aren't looking too clever as well. So I met him in Dundee, halfway between the two of us, put the bird in the post, sent it down the lab. They made a remedy up, got it back that day and got it out that day. Got it back to him. He put it over the throat of the 15 birds that had it, over in the drinking water for the rest of them. Within 24 hours, turned them around. So what I did was, one swallow doesn't make a summer, so I phoned all the pigeon guys I know up and said, look, anybody who's got a young bird sickness, tell them to call me and I'll send the remedy out free of charge. So the next 2 weeks went mental. I had 7 guys phoned up and confirmed they had young bird sickness, and I had loads of people phoned up and said, look, we don't have it, but can we buy it as a preventative? I says, well, technically I'm not selling it because we want to make sure it's fine for one person that's got it, that's specific to that shed, but if it will do the job with other places, great. So all the guys that got it came back and says, wow, it's done the job. Really pleased with it. Within 24 hours the birds picked back up again. A lot of the guys that phoned up as a preventative phoned up and says, look, we'll be honest, we had it, it's done the job. So then we were able to put it in the market. Now, I'm going to the show in Newcastle. Last year, this time, I felt like a drug dealer. All the guys that went down to the show, all the birds, adults and youngsters, came down with young bird sickness. Without fail, any bird that was at that show came down with young bird sickness within 4 days. So I was meeting people in car parks. Here's a bottle, here's a tenner. I felt like a drug dealer, I really did, because I was all over Scotland, chopping this off. But they all came back and says, wow, fantastic. And then the beauty of that was when people started seeing the results, they come on and say, what else do you do? Right, we do the clean and clear, for the environment, we do top S, and they've all come on, take these, and it's like, wow, I get people phoning me up now. This top S is fantastic. Can you keep it a secret? That's not how business works, but pigeon boys are secretive and they don't want other people to get a wee edge on them, So, it's been great seeing the results coming for that. But again, going light, when you see a bird that's sitting, eating and eating and eating and getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and it's always in the seed dish, it's classic going light. Coxie, megaback are multiplying. Now, when you send the bird away for autopsy, if you don't get a bird autopsied within an hour of it dying, the chances of finding out what killed it is nil, because it's usually dead itself. The beauty of homeopathic remedies is you can have a bird lying in the fridge for 2 weeks that's dying, and when we take a sample from that bird to make a remedy up, we look at the conditions and the symptoms of the bird. We get a remedy made up for that symptoms, but everything that was in the bird is in the remedy. So we don't need to know what it was. As long as we get a sample, we can make a remedy up. So with the young bird sickness, it's under stress that everything's multiplying, and this is why the guys see different symptoms. They'll see birds retaining water, they'll see birds spewing up water, they'll see them retaining feed, they'll see them with loose droppings, their droppings aren't bad, and it's all a big different picture because it's all things multiplying. But because we got the bird that had the symptoms, everything that's in that is in the remedy. And this is why you can either switch it on. I've had loads of people phone up and said, this is the first year in years that I haven't had young bird sickness. Use the remedy. Or people turn it around within 24 hours, which is brilliant. But the going light, what happened, the interesting thing with the going light was about 16, 17 years ago, I had a beautiful opaline spangled violet hen, and she started to go light. And so I said, right, sent it down the lab, live. They killed it, did an autopsy. The 2 main things they found, there was different things in it, but the 2 main things was coxie and megaback, was the 2 main things they found. Got a remedy made up, got it back home. I had no more birds going light. I put it over all the birds, but I had no more birds going light for about 5 months. And then when the first bird I saw going light, I put the remedy over, turned it round. But in the same season, I had 14 pairs up, and I had 8 that were scrawny fledgling disease. The chick gets to about 5, 6, 7, 10 days, starts to get thinner and scrawny, and the ring falls off. It's just not thriving. So I couldn't send a chick down alive for them to autopsy it. So I sent a dead chick down. They got a remedy made up, came back within 2 days. I put it over all the birds. I'd lost a few birds, put it over all the 8 pairs, over the chicks and that. Never lost another bird. Great, we've got a remedy for fledgling disease. It wasn't until earlier on in the year. Now, I've been selling this to people for the last 15, 16 years, and people come back year after year using it as a preventative or to turn birds around. It wasn't until Facebook, which to me is brilliant because you just pick up so many things from it, But it was it was Graham Payne put a post up. I don't know if any of you saw it. He put a post up with chicks that were scrawny, and then 2 days later, the same chicks that were starting to get the down back on. And the caption was, I got BM321 from Colin, Leask fledgling disease, and this is the result 2 days later. He'd made the remedy up and put it over the birds. Now, 2 posts down, John Bird says, oh, when I get birds like that, going scrawny, I use 307. Okay. The same year, I had birds going light. Same year, I had fledgling disease. 307 is cocci-megabag and a few secondaries. 321, that's working for the same symptoms. It's cocci. So these chicks, under stress of being in the nest, the cocci's multiplying. That's why they're going scrawny, And so it just hit me that, fledgling disease is cocci and megabag. And it's the same as in the adults. Unbelievable. So I've now got people, and it was Graham Payne came up to me at the club show and says, Colin, I use 307 all the time now, every 3 months. I haven't lost a single chick, I haven't lost a single bird since I've started using it. And quite often, every couple of months, I'll lose the odd bird, So it's just interesting that somebody makes a comment and it just brings everything together. The same with the canary boys, they lose birds at the same time, and it's cocci. They've got this issue with black spot. Because we're not an industry, we don't spend money to find out what's going on. Whereas the chicks with the canaries, it's just the 307 is doing the job, switching the immune system on for cocci-megabag and other secondaries, Brilliant. You give an antibiotic, and what you do is you suppress it. You might wipe it out, but if you wipe it out, you can't have avoiding the bird. There's got to be something there. And quite often what comes in behind it can be worse than what you've got rid of. Or the thing might come back again. That's why people, when they use antibiotic, I pick the birds up, and then when they come off it, the birds go down again, or they're not used for breeding, Whereas what we do is we switch the immune system on. Now, it's very simple to use. Here's a 10ml bottle. Now, a single remedy, you're looking at £9 plus £2 postage if you get postage out. It's good for a couple of years. What you do is you knock the bottle 30 times on the day of use, right? What that does is it activates the homeopathy. Don't shake it, knock it. Either that or the table. If you put it to your ear, you'll hear it fizzing. If my head was hollow, you'd probably hear it coming out this way, but you hear it fizzing. If you don't hear it fizzing, don't worry too much. As long as you've knocked it 30 times, not a problem. You draw up 2 mils from the bottle, get a container, whether it's a bucket, a watering can, fill up a litre. Put 2 mils into the litre, leave it sitting for 15 minutes, half an hour. It will multiply to full strength. Once you've done that, if you need 2 litres, 5 litres, 10 litres, 20 litres, whatever you use, take the 1 litre, pour it into another container, make up, for example, your 10 litres, leave some in the bottom of the 1 litre, fill it up into a litre again. Now that's your reserve. That will sit and multiply at full strength for 6-7 days if you do nothing with it. Put it in the fridge, put it somewhere cool. Fill up all your drinkers with the big lot you've made up. Leave some in the bottom of that. Fill it back up to your 10 litres. That's for tomorrow's water. So you can throw out all the water, not worrying, because it's multiplying in that 10 litres you've just made up the next day. You do that for 5 days, and you're switching the immune system on for whatever remedy you've got. So leave the reserve there. If something happened to all your water, rather than go back and get another 2 mils and start again to complete your 5 days, just go back to the 1 litre. It's sitting there and use that the same way. You don't have to, throw it out every day. If you don't throw your water out every day, don't worry about it. We go in the farms, for example, and something like viral pneumonia. You'll put viral pneumonia in 10 mils per head, and the cattle, as they're drinking out of the troughs, it's multiplying for 6-7 days, and then it just dissipates. It's gone. So that's how easy it is to do. Very economical. We put a date on it. We have to put a date by law on them, but you've got a couple of years to sit. You used to leave it in the fridge or somewhere cool. It'll last you a couple of years. You're getting a minimum 3 to 6 months. So if you want to do something as a preventative, every 3 months, just knock the bottle, drop 2 mils to your birds. When I'm doing my birds for any remedies, what I do is I'll make enough to spray the birds. I spray my birds regular, so I'll spray the birds. So as they're preening themselves, they'll get it at cell level. If I'm soaking wheat, which I do every day, I put some in the water, so it's in there as well. And I'll also use the water, if I'm moistening anything at all. If I've got greens, I'll spray that. So it's getting it in different ways. You have to get into the system. Budgies don't drink that much. If you've got a bird going light, it's not drinking much. Get a couple of mils of the solution made up, over the throat. Quite often, 3, 4, 5 hours later, I get phone calls. That bird's off the perch. It's off the seed dish. It's up on the perch. And I get phone calls quite regular. 4 weeks later, that bird I thought I was going to lose, it's on eggs. It's brilliant. It's all about results. I'm only interested in results. I'd put a money back guarantee on all the remedies, but the problem is that there's a few reasons homeopathy doesn't work. One, you don't knock the bottle 30 times to activate it. If you just draw it up, it's going to do nothing. If you have aniseed will null and void the effect of homeopathy. So if you've got aniseed in grit or in conditioning seed, if you're feeding that at the same time as you're giving that in the water, it'll null and void. The remedy won't take. If you use the wrong remedy for the wrong condition, it won't take. I've had people phone up and say, my bird's going light. And again, I like to talk to people and find out what the symptoms are, Right, it's going light. Yeah, it's losing weight. Okay. I usually say, what's the drop-ins like? There was one guy, he got the remedy, it's not worked. He says, what's the symptoms? What's the bird looking like now? I still got really wet drop-ins. Wait a minute, it's got wet drop-ins. That's not going light, That's scour, it's enteritis, That's why it's losing weight, If you told me that at the beginning, then he would have got the right remedy. But when he got the remedy sent down, it did the job. But the problem is sometimes with different conditions, you've only got a couple of days with a bird before you lose it, and sometimes it's too far. But you get the right remedy on it as a preventative, then you're laughing. The guys that were doing fantastic, these 15 guys, were using stress reducer. They were using 307 and they were using 306, which is Coxy wormer. Now, Coxy wormer is only ever twice a year, and it's not something I have a big issue with, but sometimes just putting the Coxy wormer, you can't switch Coxy on twice. If you're using 307, you're getting Coxy megaback and a few other secondaries. But 304 is wormer, but Coxy wormer is the same price, so I would rather just sell the double because it's doing the job, And you can use it as a preventative, or else you can wait till something's happening. But quite often with the Coxy wormer, people think their birds are okay, and all of a sudden they pick up because they've just got themselves a wee tidy up, So it's not rocket science. If it was rocket science, I wouldn't be anywhere near it. And it's very simple. You can't overdose with anything at all. You really can't.
Right, can I just stop you?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. Right, we've just got a break now for 15 minutes. I'll come to you, get everybody sorted, and then back.